Now, if we draw all of this information together, we can combine that information into a phenomenon known as cognitive overload. And this is when the brain simply has too much information to process and it can't take any more information in. And at that point, guess what shows up? Irritability. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to show you this glass. Now I want you to imagine that this glass is the brain. It's how much reserve the brain has to deal with information, to process information, to complete tasks. And remember, the brain does everything from waking you up in the morning, it makes sure you're breathing, it's regulating your systems, it's making you blink, it's every movement in your body, but it's also thinking through information, it's making plans, it's working out how to record a video for a website. And all of that takes up energy, all of that takes up the brain's reserves. So the water represents those activities, and gradually the cup fills up. Now what happens when the cup is full? There's no space. So anything extra that comes along at the point when the cup is full simply can't be processed by the brain. There's no room, there's no processing power left. And so the cup gets full, and what shows up? Irritability. Now most of us will go through life with a little bit of a space left. We never quite reach capacity. We're generally pretty good at knowing our limits, and we usually have a little bit of space left, or even if we just have to push through to deal with something unexpected, or to deal with a new problem or a new bit of information and be able to process it. But following a brain injury, that ability to leave a little bit of space is depleted. Now, why is that? So if we think back to what we've already learnt about and the impact of other symptoms on irritability, we can imagine that something as simple as having a conversation for a survivor of brain injury who's experiencing language difficulties may, in the past, have used that much reserve. But now, because of the extra effort, it takes up that much. Being able to remember what you did yesterday, the extra time that it takes, the extra processing power to move that information around the brain takes up much more than it used to. And if the individual is experiencing fatigue, then again, more reserves are being dedicated to pushing through that fatigue and just getting through the day, so the cup gets a bit fuller. And then actually there's not much space left for day-to-day activities, for problem solving, for working out what shopping you need, for cooking, planning something at work, managing the kids' homework, whatever it might be. There's not much space left. And so those just everyday tasks fill up that last bit of space. And suddenly we're in a situation where there's no reserve left. And then what brain injury survivors describe is that someone may come along with some extra information. So that might be commonly a change of plan. We were going to do this today, but do you mind if we just nip to Argos before we go to Sainsbury's? I've just got to pick something up. Now, mostly we'd have room to accommodate that new information and produce a response and understand it. But if you've got no processing capacity left, if the brain literally cannot take that information in and work through it, then you experience cognitive overload. Other situations that can cause cognitive overload are commonly noisy places or very visually stimulating places. So survivors of brain injury will typically say to me, I couldn't go to John Lewis at Christmas. There's too much noise, there's too many people, there's all the lights and the decorations, and all that stimulation, all that information bombarding the brain pushes me over the edge, and I can't cope, I get completely overwhelmed. Going to the supermarket, maybe you're already pretty much at capacity, you know you need to get tea bags, And then you get to the aisle and there are 50 different varieties of tea bag to choose from, and you've got to scan all that information to find the brand that your partner particularly likes, because you don't want to go home with the wrong one. Or you get to the self-checkout and it's not working properly and the beeper's going off and you've got to get someone over to help. All of those experiences, when they occur at the point when the cup is full, push us into cognitive overload. And that's the same for everybody. The difference following a brain injury is that it happens much more quickly because the cup is already so full by just getting through the day and doing the normal processes. And of course, when those things happen and there's extra demands, what shows up? Irritability.